So the first question I have is about fault lines. Okay, when I say fault lines, the system weaknesses that what are the major structural gaps and system weaknesses that must be addressed to accelerate progress? What are the gaps? So I would like to start from you when it comes to systems. Anyway, I don't want to focus on the employee-employer environment. I'm talking about systems that has gaps. I know in Nigeria, I know in Africa in general, we have our own case. So what do you think are those gaps that we need to fix to accelerate growth?
Okay, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here today. Thank you to the organizers for having me. It's also a good comeback. I was here in 2015.
Really?
Yes. So it's good to be here again. So in terms of fault lines in the system, and I would just focus on when we talk about system, we'll talk about like the jobs, employment system overall. I think the biggest challenge is the fact that even though we've always known that there's like more job seekers, more people looking for jobs than jobs, this has been accelerated lately. And even if government had a plan before, right, that plan is no longer valuable or valid, right, in 2025, and the world is changing very fast, continues to change. When I heard about the topic, I felt like, oh, we're talking about governance. Okay, we're not talking about AI, But unfortunately, it's like there's no way you try that topic. You just won't find yourself talking about AI.
Of course.
So, but I wouldn't draw too much about AI. It's not a tech session where we just go like deeper into like what is AI, blah blah blah. But just how that changes everything in terms of the kind of work people are looking for, the kind of work that exists, the plans of employers on who they want to hire, and their plans also to fire, right? Because in some cases, they might be replacing with technology. In some places, they might be wanting people to shift and upskill their skills to be more AI native, AI forward, right? There's all of that. There is also some benefit, some new opportunities too as well, which has kind of grown over the last 5 years. Started with, the pandemic, and then also accelerated with AI, which is like remote opportunities, freelance opportunities. But it also changes the way a job seeker might think about their own approach. For example, it was cool before to just be good at what you do. Now you have to make noise about what you do. And some of us are really, really very uncomfortable about that. Some people are like, some people are like, oh, those people are shouting online, they are doing this, they are doing that. But now they realize that, yes, they have to do it. It's part of the curriculum. It's part of the plan, And does the government have systems to help the population at large understand that? The simple answer is no. In terms of remote work, freelance work, global work, does the government have systems to enhance that or to even protect people, the rights of workers? Right? No. And those are some things that have to change. Sometimes the government might say a plan of 2031, but this one cannot be 2031. We need it now, right? I do have some thoughts about that. Unfortunately, I'm not a government official, so I can't speak for them. But simple things like having some agencies or some existing programs to evolve to try and address some of these challenges in partnership with the private sector definitely will go a long way. And that being said, I would say we already have programs by government that sort of addresses some fringes of this kind of things.
Like what NIDA is doing.
NIDA, 3MTT. Exactly. There is, I heard about another Ministry of Trade and Investment program around export of talented persons. And that one, I consider that one to be a refreshing one. Number one, because what we've always had our government talk about is the brain drain. For the first time I had our government talk about talent export. I'm like, okay, now we wake up to that reality on where the world is going. But there's still a lot of things to be fixed there. And I think those are the fault lines.
Yeah. Exactly. So let me not say anything. Let's go back to you, Okwe. Please, what does this future look like from your perspective?
Dr. Dereni said a lot of interesting things. So I think I would take a little bit of a departure from that. I would say future ready to do future-ready systems, it has to be future-proof policies, right? And that sometimes might look hard, but it's not that hard if people really spend time thinking about how do you make something future-proof. And make something future-proof, for me, in the practical sense of it, like say Nigeria, would mean, one, if you're making a policy, you have to make a policy that actually delivers value to the people, such that the next government, the next person who takes up that office would find it very difficult to not continue that project. Yeah. The worst case scenario would be they would rebrand it and call it renewed strength, after whatever.
Yes.
But
yes.
Because they know that number one, this thing is value adding, it creates value for them, it gives them positive PR, it helps them in whatever form, right? And it also helps the country. So that for me is future proof. And we've seen projects like that has happened. Has anyone tried to cancel what NIBS has done? No. Mm-hmm. For good reason. Try it and see how that's going to go. And this also means we need to have the right people in government. People that are thinking. People that think not just about money, but think about legacy. That when people talk about what you've done 10 years, 20 years, 30 years after, they're like, this person introduced this. And I think if people can be just a bit more long-termish, right, around their own personal goals and ambitions. And just, I like to tell people that Nigeria is not a very peculiar country like that. We have countries that are very similar to Nigeria. India, for example, around how a company can be, don't let me use those words, I have to be very careful. A company can be one kind, right, but at the same time still be evolving, using their own unique formula that just works for them. So I'm not asking someone to come and be a saint. Yeah, I'm only asking that you think really hard about building legacy and building something that works for you and the community.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So let's talk to an investor here. Does mood affect someone's investment? Mood? Yeah, your mood. That day that person is pitching.
Okay, now this is like everybody, not me. Okay, yes, it's true. I'm an investor. And I've invested in over 52 startups with my own capital. But
can you put your hands together? Thank you.
As a fund, Fast Forward Venture Fund, we invested in 15 companies, focused on African founders. Some operate in Africa, some not. And to answer again, yes, mood can.
Okay.
And this is the reason why. You are very correct. Risk reduction. But that's not the only thing, though. Right? Risk reduction within the context of when a founder is pitching to me, I'm trying to understand why will this work? And it's not like investors also don't like risk, but there's a certain type of risk that we're comfortable with. We're comfortable with the risk of something that does not look clear today, but just by some common sense trend thinking, you can think of what this would look like in 5 to 7 years. And you're like, this person understands it. They're saying the right things and they probably get it. And the parts that would probably not even make it take off at all, they also have thought about it and have found ways to reduce the risks there, like risk of distribution, which is where you mention partnerships, risk of capital outlay, So, yes, now going back to mood, you can be listening to a founder and then the founder just goes on boastfully talking, and maybe ask the founder like, so how do you intend to make money? How do you intend to monetize this? Really great idea. And people like, I don't care. It doesn't really matter. It depends on your mood. You might want to be like, okay, have you thought about it this way? But in some cases, just say, okay, great. Thank you very much. We'll pass. But if you find a really strong founder that you think, okay, maybe we could talk a bit more. There's a way you can go about it and just kind of address that. Maybe we should have another conversation. Let's see if you've thought about this or not. So yes, mood can affect that.
Really, yes.
Mood can.
Okay.
If you are at a position where, okay, this part is like mood, but it's not really mood. It's more like if you just started deploying capital for your fund, the way you also will react to founders will also be different when you're at the tail end of deploying your fund. At the beginning, you probably are slower. Many deals are coming, you're just looking at them. At the end, maybe you just want to quickly finish deploying, then you might even rush into some deals. So these days, investors get better at navigating it. Then I also want to address something that you mentioned, especially around investors not being interested in blood banks and diagnostics.
No, I didn't say that. I was talking about I was talking about different investors for different companies.
Different companies.
Yes, I was talking about when you talk about when you talk about infrastructure project,
Yeah.
you need private equity because they sometimes like to wait. Right.
Yeah.
Unlike VCs that most time invest in fast-moving companies, right?
Yeah.
And also, private individuals also sometimes take those risks also investing.
So interestingly, I have a very contrarian view about that. The contrarian view comes from just a simple fact that VCs essentially want to see money that can grow fast, right, and scale. And markets are also very different. So when you come to Nigeria, Africa, our problems are very, very basic, right? And as such, it's someone that solves the basic problems that gets to become large. So just by that simple theory, it actually fits into a VC context, right? The other part that sort of looks like it doesn't fit in it, what does the capital outlay looks like? So VCs inherently think about businesses that have what we call capital efficiency. You can use little to build something that's really big and then keep on scaling and keep on scaling. And then the speed at which you can replicate whatever small units, right, you're building. And a lot of infrastructural businesses don't have that. Roads, for example. Roads, no VC is going to touch road for any reason, right? Because it's like, how will the money even come back? And when? 50 years? Can you IPO a road? You get the point. Those are hard questions. But could you IPO a diagnostic lab network? Keyword, network, right? Yes. So if I'm listening to a founder that's talking about diagnostic labs, I'm asking myself, do they think about scale? Do they think about the operational challenges of scale? And are they using technology to solve that piece of the scale? Because essentially, we also believe that technology can introduce efficiency and scale, right? Yeah. So yes, and personally for us, some of our best investments have been businesses that one of our best performing businesses, a business that deals in chemical supplies. Okay. Chemical supplies, right? But it's very basic stuff. There's nothing you eat. You used to touch your body that does not involve chemicals. So whether you like it or not, wherever FX likes, it should go. Chemical supplies is always going to be there, right? But they're using technology at a layer to drive that. Now, to round up, national priorities. I think when it comes to national priorities, sometimes VC money is not the money to go for. But unfortunately, a lot of entrepreneurs would rather go for VC money instead of debt. But from what my co-panelists have mentioned, you can see clearly that not all businesses can qualify for VC money. Exactly. That's just the truth, right? And there's also a culture that's been built that I need to disabuse. VC money is not free, right? It feels like it's free money because no bank is going to come and, harass you. But it's still not free money. It's at the cost of your integrity. If you think your integrity matters, right? And I think maybe that's the nuanced part. For a lot of people, they really don't care about their integrity. So they're like, yeah, I will take the money. So they're offering it, right? I don't care how they make their own money, but I'll collect the money, spend. And because we've also seen examples of people that have spent, right? Collected the money, did nothing with it. But we've also seen people that have used the money to build really great structures and life-changing wealth, right, for themselves. Dr. Dara has talked about Paystack a couple of times here. You've got likes of GP, Flutterwave as well. The kind of monies that they've made for themselves. We're talking of hundreds of millions of dollars personal wealth, right? But just by focusing on building something well and doing it well. So if you have a shot in life at that, why should you try and now just take $5,000, $10,000, eat it, and then, and be broke again? It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. So when people do it, I really wonder what's going through their minds, because you can, except, I have a professor that will say, I'm not going to ask you not to steal or to be a jerk. But if you're going to steal, be a jerk, borrow money for someone, no return it, borrow big. Steal big once so that you don't have to do it again. Because or else everybody knows that you're not trustworthy and nobody wants to do stuff with you again. And it goes the same with venture capital. Your pre-seed, small, like just do it well so that you can do it more.
Thank you very
That's it.
much.